Hello, and welcome to this Argos Translations webcast. This webcast is the second in a series of webcasts looking to address different aspects of planning for localization. In this session, we'll look at how to build quality into your plan. This includes a summary of some of the quality certifications which you'll encounter when dealing with language providers, a look at why simply adding additional quality steps doesn't always increase the quality of your translated product, and will provide insight into some of the most valuable steps which you should consider when building your localization program plan. Quality certification forms a part of many language supplier selection processes. Here we'll take a look at some of the standards which are available to language suppliers to obtain certification for. While a supplier that boasts quality certifications is not guaranteed to supply perfect translations each and every time, the certifications do guarantee that the supplier has been subject to an audit and that the supplier has processes in place which are designed to enable successful delivery. Certifications involve both a time and financial commitment on the part of the supplier and aren't undertaken lightly. This can provide clients with reassurance when looking to place their work with a particular supplier. ISO 9001 categorizes all requirements that companies looking to obtain the standard have to fulfill. This certification mainly relates to quality management systems, their usage and incorporation within a quality assurance process at a given company. ISO 9001 helps organizations ensure that they meet the needs of customers and other stakeholders. ISO 13485-2003 is a medical device standard, part of the ISO standards family that specifies requirements for a quality management system that can be used by an organization for the design and development, production, installation, and servicing of medical devices, and the design, development and provision of any related services. The EN 15038-2006 translation standard is a quality standard specifically written for the translation industry. It imposes on the translators an obligation to be responsible for checking the translation prior to delivery. By the year 2015, this standard will be changed to the ISO 17100, an international standard. For translation services already certified with EN 15038, they won't be required to make any adjustments to their processes or quality management systems to comply with the new ISO standard, as the main requirements for both standards are similar. For clients, the new international standard is likely to mean more involvement in designing the translation program processes through more detailed specifications and agreements. One of the benefits of the international standard will be that it will also make it much easier for clients to compare services and prices and to manage agreements with language service providers. So, does more process equate to higher quality? And which processes can help to ensure quality? Spend any time talking with language suppliers and you're likely to hear the acronym TEP, or TEP, which is shorthand for a three-step translation, editing and proofreading language process. TEP has long been seen by language suppliers as a cornerstone for superior language quality. TEP often involves three linguists, a translator, an editor, or a reviewer, who is also a linguist that checks the quality of the translation against the source text, and a third linguist, the proofreader, who checks that the final text reads through correctly once any desktop publishing formatting has been carried out prior to delivery. For content which is particularly sensitive, and where a client doesn't have target language expertise, some clients request a back translation so that they can see how their text is being represented in their chosen markets. Back translations are normally carried out blind, so that the back translator doesn't have access to the original source text. Back translations as a process are often criticized. For example, if the original translation is extremely literal, a back translation might actually make it appear that the translation is of fantastic quality. Back translations can be a hopeless option for idiomatic texts, because when an abstract concept is transformed to a target language, transforming it a second time will often give a very different result. When confronted with a back translation, it can become very easy to be distracted by translation differences which simply don't matter. For example, a client might habitually refer to a healthcare professional as a doctor. If the back translation uses the term physician instead, it might give the impression that the original translation is at fault. Back translations won't catch spelling errors. Any mistakes in the back translation could reflect wrongly on the translation. Finally, back translations are just expensive. Because of these issues, some language suppliers can offer a subject matter expert review instead. This is an additional review carried out by an expert in the domain and intended market. In the case of medical devices, such a person might be a surgeon or other person with hands-on experience in a clinical environment. These people are not normally linguists. They're people whose focus is their primary career. They bring that experience to the translation process, making translations more relevant in doing so. There are other process steps which can impact quality too. Here we'll outline 4 of them: terminology management, style guides, quality at source, and simplified technical English. Terminology management is a service which enables accurate and effective translation by organizing terminology according to a set of rules governing usage. Terminology and various metadata such as context, definition, abbreviated forms, etc. are stored in a database called a term base. This allows these term concepts to be recalled at the time of translation in the translator's preferred translation tool environment. This content is often also made available in a glossary format too, allowing clients and non-linguists access to this important linguistic asset. Often businesses have established style guides for their source content. These contain the standards and expectations for any materials which are to be published in the business's name. These guides help to ensure that a business's branding message remains consistent across its content. The same concept can be used for translated content. A translation style guide defines the grammar, syntax, and tone the business wants to use when presenting its products to the intended markets. Additionally, style guides remove the requirement for translators to choose between personal or formal tone, between active and passive voice, etc. Style guides can be particularly useful in preventing one of the common and costly challenges of localization, that when content is checked by in-country employees, the local representatives need to change the style of translated content in order to meet their market requirements. By establishing style upfront, local change requests and publishing delays can be minimized. Argos Translations also offers a free-of-charge service as part of its standard workflow, which it calls Quality at Source. The Quality at Source solution focuses on source inspection to prevent product defects by controlling the conditions that influence quality at their source. It reduces the quality control aspects of the traditional translation, editing, proofreading TEP process, reduces costs and improves quality. Quality at source is performed by language leads, who proof the original text seeking to define important terminology and concepts, correct language usage, grammar, spelling and typos, while creating a list of questions and doubts ahead of translation. This means that potential roadblocks are identified and can be mitigated prior to kickoff. Finally, Argos Translations can offer your company technical writing optimization services such as Simplified Technical English training. STE training aims to help companies prepare and optimize their documentation content and software for multilingual use ahead of the translation process, thereby reducing extra translation rework costs at later stages of the development cycle. By implementing STE, clients have seen that their translation costs can reduce by up to 30%. This is achieved through improved consistency, elimination of rework, improving technical writing processes, and designing their software for multilingual use during initial planning phases. Thank you very much for listening. Should you have any comments or doubts, please do reach out to your regional sales support. That's Violetta in Europe and Asia, and Shannon in the United States. Their details can be found on the screen now. Finally, if you'd like to learn more about Argos translations, do sign up to our newsletter at www.argostranslations.com/newsletter. Thank you very much for listening.